There have been protests in the U.S. city of Minneapolis after a young black man was shot dead by police. Minneapolis is where the trial of the officer accused of killing George Floyd is taking place. In this latest incident, a 20-year-old man died after crashing his car, having been shot by an officer moments before. Investigators say the police officer thought she was using her taser. Our correspondent, Barbara Plett Usher, is live in Minneapolis for us tonight. Barbara.
Clive, city officials are saying that this shooting, which may have been a tragic mistake, could not have happened at a worse time given the tensions over the George Floyd case. Police here have been reinforcing their station all day after the protests that took place last night. And the mayor of Minneapolis has called a state of emergency and issued an order for a curfew later tonight. The president, Joe Biden, has spoken. He says he knows that the pain, the anger, the trauma, they're real, but that does not justify looting and violence. So this is an evolving situation, but here is the latest. These have become familiar scenes in a year of civil unrest over police violence, with every deadly encounter reigniting a smoldering anger.
There's a standoff between police and protesters here. Smoke bombs have been fired, tear gas have been fired after a shooting, another police shooting of a black man in Minnesota.
That man was Daunte Wright, 20 years old, of mixed race. With the city already on edge over the trial of the George Floyd killing, police moved quickly to release footage from the camera worn by the officer involved in the shooting. It shows that Mr. Wright was pulled over for a minor offense. That escalated when police decided to arrest him on a previous warrant. He tried to run. But then, a fatal mistake, the police chief said.
The officer, while struggling with Mr. Wright, shouts, "Taser, taser." During this encounter, however, the officer drew their handgun instead of their taser. Oh, wow. It is my belief that the officer had the intention to deploy their taser, but instead shot Mr. Wright with a single bullet. This appears to me, from what I've viewed and the officer's reaction and distress immediately after, that this was an accidental discharge.
In the moments before this tragedy, Mr. Wright's mother had been on the phone with him.
A minute later, I called and his girlfriend answered, which was the passenger in the car, and said that he'd been shot. And she put it on the driver's side, and my son was laying there lifeless. And then I said, "Where are you?" And she said, "I don't know."
During the unrest that followed, some shops were looted, a reminder of the property damage after George Floyd's death last year. The prosecution is wrapping up its case in that trial. There's concern about what sort of fallout the verdict might trigger, and questions about whether it will impact the way police operate in America. Barbara Plett Usher, BBC News, Minneapolis.